As the final embers of 1111 sank slowly into the deep blue undulations of the Apulian coast in southern Italy, the stone towers of Bari stood in stark solitude against the maritime gale. Within a manner of Norman visage, its walls etched and weathered by the brine of the sea, an old man of towering stature and snowy hair gazed silently at the shifting sails upon the horizon. He was not reviewing the iron cavalry that once struck terror into the hearts of Byzantine emperors. Instead, his weathered fingers traced a blurred crest upon a rusted ancient coin. This patriarch penned a sentence as lucid as glacial ice: "I have spent my life seeking to reclaim what was rightfully mine, only to discover in the moment of possession that it was naught but vanity." He was Bohemond I, the most formidable and ambitious commander of the First Crusade. This is a chronicle of how ambition stitches together a broken fate, and how dreams are tiered upon ruins. The genesis of Bohemond's life was a narrative forged in the Norman moors, saturated with dispossession and fury. As the firstborn of Robert Guiscard, the great conqueror of southern Italy, he was forced to watch as his rightful ducal inheritance was bestowed upon a younger half-brother. In those years he was youthful, elegant, yet possessed a primal aggression. Men called him Bohemond the Great, not merely for his titanic frame, but for eyes that never wavered from the horizon. During winter nights compressed by neglect, he learned the art of tempering rage, and how to exploit the infinitesimal fissures to dismantle vast empires. When the clarion call of the crusade echoed, he felt a profound liberation. No longer a secondary heir discarded by his house, he had become the most lucid gambler of the entire expedition. On the day of his departure, he understood that the cross was not the destination of faith, but a ticket to the path of immortal power. If his early machinations were born of hunger, the siege beneath the walls of Antioch was the crucible where Bohemond pushed the aesthetics of ambition to its zenith. On a rain-swept night in 1098, he sought no divine intervention at the altar. Instead, within the shadows, he exchanged a pivotal gaze with a disgruntled officer of the garrison. Within his Spartan tent, he forged countless letters of ambiguous veracity to erode the resolve of his allies. When he became the first to scale the ramparts, what he felt was not the pious joy of religious salvation, but the quiet ecstasy of a hunter whose trap had finally sprung. He commanded himself, "Be not seduced by the prestige of the holy city, seek instead the steel of power amidst the rubble." This extreme pragmatism and audacity rendered him the most dazzling piece upon the grand chessboard of the East. The summit of power is often shadowed by the most clandestine betrayals of human nature, and even this fox, who seldom miscalculated, could not elude the grasp of destiny. Bohemond established his own principality in Antioch, only to endure 3 years of incarceration in a Damascus dungeon. Within that sunless vault of stone, he began to study the tongue of his adversaries and contemplate the philosophy of necessity. He wrote, "Once I was the eagle racing through the tempest, now I am but a grain of dust upon this reef." This transition from the altar back to the flesh bestowed upon him a transparent, cold melancholy. When he finally regained his liberty, he exhibited no vengeful fury, but rather a profound sense of mercy. This expansive clarity, born of witnessing the rise and fall of empires, became the most unyielding armor of his twilight years. The Bohemond's final days were spent in a state of solemn and prophetic tranquility. By now he was frail, his once broad coat hanging loosely upon his titanic frame. He understood that after his passing, the Principality of Antioch he had forged would continue its own orbit, yet the dream he bequeathed would become an immortal legend of the House of Normandy. In his journals he noted, "You are but an actor in this grand theater. Since the director has signaled your exit, take your bow with grace." At the dawn of March 1111, Bohemond refused his medicine. He turned away, pressing his face against a stack of manuscripts scented with sea salt. In that moment, the morning glow illuminated the waters of the Mediterranean, and with it, the countenance of a commander who had finally found liberation. Even today, the name of Bohemond I remains a sanctuary for solitary dreamers in the dead of night. What he left behind was not a cathedral piercing the heavens, but a spiritual template of self-salvation. He teaches us that even if the world misinterprets you, the order within your heart is governed solely by your own perception of truth. He maintained an absolute lucidity amidst absolute violence. Beneath his tomb, crafted with an exquisite oriental flair, he remains in a posture of contemplation, soothing the restlessness of time. His life was a long pilgrimage in the deconstruction of destiny. Buried beneath those ruins lies not merely the remains of a general, but a profound dream of humanity's awakening to the duality of power and vanity. The saga of Bohemond I thus draws to a close amidst the eternal cadence of the Mediterranean waves. He was never an opportunist who conquered for the sake of conquest. He was a weary soul who steadfastly refused to cease his exploration. He reminds us that no matter how mundane your life may seem, the reason within is your only true refuge. Just as he sat alone through those frigid winter nights, clutching a guttering candle to draw the arcs of power with his quill. Perhaps you, too, are navigating the uncertainties of life, or feeling the weight of spiritual isolation. But believe this, in every life, there exists a unique review, a private space for dialogue with the self. May the serenity and vastness of Bohemond become the softest feather in your dreams, guiding you toward that most tranquil and expansive shore of the inner soul. Good night.